Hey guys, how's it going? And I am in a very dark place, or maybe it just looks that way. So this is a shader pack by Nowhere that does a depth of field fog shader test. So it's kind of what we're going to go over today, not that pack, but we're going to be going over how to apply shaders constantly so that you can have like a kind of special effect in your map or whatever you're making. Now, this isn't going to cover turning this on and off, so this is always on as long as this pack is on. So there's pretty much no way to have the game or a command turn it on and off. That is going to require a lot more work and a lot more explanation from me. So we're going to go over that maybe next time, but we're going to start to ease our way into that kind of path. But you have to know the basics first. So I made a previous video on shaders, so I'm going to be kind of briefly summarizing some stuff from it, but I'm not going to go super in depth into what each JSON component in a shader is. So go ahead and take a look at that. I'll link it in the description. It goes over kind of like the in-depth of what different components mean. So first we're going to obviously have to take this guy off, and we're going to put on our tutorial resource pack, which has nothing in it. And we go to the .minecraft resource packs and into your whatever resource pack you're working with. So you go to assets and you go to Minecraft and you go to shaders and you have post and program. We went over this before. Then you have to open your .jar. I guess some people don't know that this is a thing. So you go to versions, you go to 1.16.3, click on the jar, you right click it, open with WinRAR or whatever archiver you have. Let me go back to where I was. So then you again navigate to the same folder location, and this will give you default stuff. So the trick that I was using to make this work is that there is a special setting called Fabulous. So we have fast, we have fancy, we have fabulous. Fabulous graphics uses screen shaders for drawing weather. Okay, so this is the fabulous mode. So the fabulous is going to be a constant shader that's applied, and it's accessible via the files. It's known as the transparency shader right here, transparency.json in the post. So we can copy that for our baseline. And let's go ahead and open this up. So we have transparency.json. And then we also are going to have, and this has a bunch of stuff in it, and we'll go over everything you need to do to basically make your own. We are going to work with, I think, Wobble. Wobble plays Wobble. Okay, I guess we can play with Wobble. So let's play with Wobble. So we're going to open Wobble. And we're going to try and apply Wobble into transparency. And it might be a little too easy, so we'll probably do two examples. So first we need to go to Wobble. We have to see what resources it has. So the name says Wobble, and then the name says Blit. Blit is something default. Wobble is not necessarily default. It might be default. Actually, I think it is. So we're fine with that. What we'll need to do is it runs Wobble from main, and then it swaps it, and then it goes Blit, and then it swaps it. All right, so we're going to need swap into here. So let's add swap. If you already have a swap, you can write over it as long as you do it in the right order. So the transparency goes main to final. Okay. And then Blit does final back to main. Okay, so before we go from final back to main, or maybe we can just do this after. So this is basically transferring the information about how the weather and clouds are supposed to look back onto main. Main is what your screen will draw. And targets are kind of like variables, and name, your past names, it kind of like is order of operations and functions. So order of operations, we're going to run the transparency, which applies all the transparency logic. Then we're going to run Blit, which basically just means do nothing, take the in and put it on the out. So we take the thing that we got from here and we put it on the out. And the reason you have to do this Blit stuff is because you can't write to the same thing you took in. So you can't put main on the in and main on the out. So you have to put it on a temporary variable and then put the temporary variable on the main. Okay, so now main has the affected stuff. Now we take the main and we put it on swap. Perfect. And we take the swap and we put it on main. So this will apply our Wobble. So let's save that. Control, reload the resource pack. And boom, easy peasy. Wobble makes me look like I'm on LSD. And that was like super easy. Now you can apply your own, but that's going to apply you to have to make your own shader stuff, which we went over before, how to do like a zoom shader. So it requires knowing some code some OpenGL code. And you can reference the other video for making your own shaders. We're just going to be loading things onto the transparency shader and kind of showing how to work with the variables. So here we have plays wobble, swap to main. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and add on like a CRT effect. So we're going to go down and we can go through their default shaders. And they actually have one under post that has like a CRT effect. And that one is known as Ntsc. So let's open this. So it has swap, swap to, and previous. So we're just going to copy these targets. Can't have two swaps. Okay. And we can overwrite the previous swap. It'll be fine. So we just copy everything going on here, which it does have a lot going on. Then, comma, enter. Make sure that we still have the proper variable stuff going. Swap goes to main. Okay, then we pull from main, it goes to swap. Then swap goes to swap 2. Then swap 2 goes to swap. Then swap goes to main. Then main goes to swap. Then swap goes to main. Okay, then main goes to swap. Then swap goes to main. Then Blake goes to main. Main goes to previous. And Ntsc. Okay, and it probably pulls from previous to give you some information. So let's do F3T. And if everything doesn't work, it'll show you in the console. Okay, there we go. Now we're really working with some crazy shaders. I don't know why you would make a map like this. Now let's just look at some settings we can change. So maybe this was too blurry, right? Because this is like, my hand is clear, but this is very hard to see the blocks. So we can actually change this by going through some of these variables, and hopefully they're named in a way that makes sense. So we can take a look at some of these. So here is blur. Oh, duh, blur. Blur direction, blur radius. Okay, so what happens if we lower our blur radius to 1? Okay, so that reduces the blur amount by a little bit, and I guess it'd be easier for you to tell if I put the block in front of me. We can also look here. Again, blur radius. Okay, let's reduce the blur radius to 1. And you might get like a crisper image. Yeah, it's a little bit crisper. You can see like the lines are more defined. But it does take a keen eye to see these differences. We can also change the amount and of the phosphor, but you can look at what those actual shaders do. If you want to see what any of these shaders are doing, you just go to program, and you can look at stuff like, for example, if you want to see what phosphor is doing, you can go to phosphor.json, and it'll tell you here is your variables. These are some variables as well. And then you can go into the phosphor.fhs, which is how it affects your pixels. And you can see the equations it's applying. So this guy is grabbing your pixel, grabbing your previous pixel, and it is taking the max of your previous RGB times your current RGB. So, well, your previous RGB times phosphor to your current RGB, and it's putting that onto your pixel. So what this does is it does I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll do this kind of like the scan lines. But I might be wrong about that. You can like double check, see what changing variables does. But this kind of requires some knowledge of OpenGL to understand what the code here is doing. But you don't necessarily need it if the default shaders have what you want for your map. You just take them, change a few variables if you need. There's also pencil. Pencil's kind of cool. Okay, let's just do it anyway. It's gonna look really weird, but let's add pencil after the CRT. See what happens. I think before would have made more sense, but let's just do it. Okay, so now we are like completely drugged out. And this is what they'll constantly see. You'll have to tell your users to go and change this to this setting. But yeah, we are completely tripped out. I'll take a screenshot of this. This will be in the thumbnail. But yeah, you can see some craziness. And now if you want to apply your own, obviously it's just like before. You change the name to be whatever you want. You specify your in targets and your out targets. and you add your files to the program folder, and you specify all the variables there. If you ever have any problems, it will show up errors under warning and info, not under error, and it will show it up. You'll see like ginormous block that has to do with shaders. So here's some information like I couldn't find in size, but these are usually not things that will crash it. It'll tell you if there's something wrong. So let me add a comma at the end here. Let me clear my logs. F3T. You're going to see that I will lose everything. Yep. So then it will tell me here, right here, this block. Failed to load shader. Blah, 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 stuff you don't care about. Then you get all the way to the bottom. It'll basically tell you the files, and it says accepted malform JSON at line 174. Okay, line 174. So it said something's wrong here with your JSON. Oh, there's an extra comma. Okay, so it accepted the wrong JSON. So then we take that off, and I'm going to in fact delete those guys because the pencil just is not working for me. All right, so then I'll put that back on, and you'll have to reapply the setting. And sometimes you'll have to restart your entire game. Okay, and my screen size might be like not right now for you guys, but you also need to reapply the resource pack. So those are just two things I wanted to make you aware of. The fact that sometimes you need to reapply the resource pack, and sometimes you need to reload your entire game. So I went ahead and did that, and everything's good. The reload your game is just kind of a bug. Anyways, that's pretty much it. That's how you apply your special weird looking shader that will constantly always be on. I'll try and get to the switching of shaders, but there is a lot of nuance in it, and there's no definite way to do it. And the ways that I use even have their own bugs at times. So I'm still kind of working on trying to make something that works all the time. Anyways, if you thought that was useful, leave a like. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you next time. Peace.